He didn't just leave her at the altar, he slapped her, in front of everyone she had ever loved, in a church full of people holding cameras, in Seoul, on what was supposed to be the best day of her life. Before we go further, if you are new here, welcome to Afro-Korean Chronicles. We tell the stories that live between worlds. Hit subscribe and the notification bell right now. Because this story, you will not see the ending coming. The church was full, 300 guests, white roses lining every pew, a string quartet playing softly, cameras everywhere. Because in Seoul, weddings like this don't happen quietly. They happen as statements, and Kiyoma had planned every detail. The flowers, the dress, the vows she wrote herself at 2 a.m., 6 months pregnant. Glowing, terrified, happy. She walked down that aisle like she had won something. She had no idea she was walking into an ambush. She saw his face first, and something inside her stomach shifted. Trevor wasn't smiling. He was standing at that altar the way people stand, before they say something they cannot take back, jaw tight, eyes cold, looking through her. Not at her. Through her, like she was already gone. "Trevor," she whispered, her voice small, nervous. The priest smiled politely and cleared his throat. "We are gathered here today." "Stop!" One word. Trevor's voice, flat and final. The quartet stopped playing mid-note. 300 people went silent at exactly the same time. He reached into his jacket, pulled out his phone, and held the screen toward her face. A video. Her face. Her body. Another man. Intimate. Convincing. Wrong. Kiyoma's brain went completely blank. "That's not—" "Shut up." The guests nearest the altar leaned forward. The ones at the back stood from their seats. Phones were already rising, recording everything. "Trevor, listen to me," she said, her voice cracking. "Someone sent that to you. It's fake. I would never—" "Of course it's fake." His voice dripped contempt. "That's what they all say." "I'm carrying your child," she said. "Why would I?" He reached for her hand. She thought he was going to hold it. He didn't. He grabbed the ring and yanked. Hard. "Ah!" Pain shot through her finger. She gasped out loud. 300 people heard it. 300 cameras caught it. "Don't touch me," he said, like she was dirty, like she was nothing. "You expect me to believe that child is mine?" The words hit her first, then his hand, loud, sharp, echoing off every marble wall in that church. Kiyoma stumbled. Her bouquet fell. White roses scattered across the altar floor. Her hand went to her face. Her eyes filled instantly. Not from the pain, from the sound, from the way everyone heard it, from the way no one moved. That was the worst part. The silence. 300 people. And not one of them stood up. Her mother sat frozen 3 rows back. Her bridesmaids stood to the side with their mouths open. His groomsmen looked at the floor, and the phones kept recording. Every single one of them. Recording. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. Slowly. "No. You don't mean that." But he did. He stepped back, dropped the ring at her feet, like it meant nothing, like she meant nothing. I saw everything I needed to see. And he turned and walked away. The humiliation rose like water. Fast, suffocating. She heard a woman laugh, somewhere near the back, soft, deliberate. She would find out later who that was. But right now, all she knew was that she could not breathe. She picked up her dress and ran, dress dragging, heart breaking, bare feet slapping marble. She didn't think. She just ran toward the doors, toward him. Because that is what you do when your whole world has just fallen apart. You chase the person who broke it. You beg them to put it back together. even when they are the ones holding the hammer. She was almost at the doors. Almost. When a hand closed around her wrist. Firm. Unshakable. Stop. One word. But a completely different kind of one word. Not cold. Not cruel. Just certain. Keoma spun around, tears blurring everything. Let me go. No, she pulled. He didn't move. I need to talk to him. You don't chase a man who just hit you. Her breath stopped, just for a second. You don't beg someone who just called your child a lie. She looked at him properly now. Tall, broad, dressed in black, Korean, standing in the middle of her chaos like he had always been there. His eyes were calm, dangerously calm. The kind of calm that does not come from not caring. The kind that comes from never being afraid. Who are you? She whispered. He didn't answer. He released her wrist and walked past her, straight down the aisle. 300 people watched him walk. Nobody spoke. Nobody stopped him. He stepped onto the altar, stood in the exact spot Trevor had just abandoned, and turned. He looked at her and held out his hand. Palm up. An invitation. Not a command. An invitation. Come. Keoma's mind said no. Her body moved anyway, step by step, down that aisle, past the staring faces, past the cameras, past her frozen mother, until her hand landed in his. Warm. Steady. Real. He turned to the priest. I'll marry her. The doors burst open. Trevor, face red, eyes wild. What the hell is going on? The man beside Keoma did not look at him. He was still looking at the priest. Proceed. Trevor stormed down the aisle. She's my fiancée. You can't do this. The man finally turned and looked at Trevor. Just looked at him. No anger. No raised voice. Something colder than both. Trevor stopped walking, halfway down the aisle. Stopped. You threw the ring at her, the man said quietly. You called her child a lie. A pause. You raised your hand to her. His voice did not rise. It didn't need to. You made your choice. He stepped forward. One step, placing himself between Keoma and Trevor like a wall. Now, I'm making mine. Trevor's face went from red to white. He looked at Keoma, expecting her to do something. Protest. Apologize. Reach for him. She didn't. She was looking at the man beside her, for the first time since this started. She wasn't looking at Trevor at all. That broke him more than anything else could have. You can have her, he muttered. She's probably carrying another man's child anyway. Keoma flinched, but didn't speak, didn't break. Something inside her had already started to harden. The priest's hands were shaking. He opened his Bible anyway. Do you take this woman? I do. No hesitation. Not even a breath of it. 300 people turned to look at her. Keoma looked at this stranger, this man she had never met, who had walked into the worst moment of her life and chosen to stay, when everyone who knew her had watched and done nothing. I do, she said. Her voice surprised her. It didn't shake. You may kiss the bride. He didn't rush, didn't perform for the cameras. He raised both hands, cupped her face gently. His thumbs brushed the last tears from her cheeks and pressed his lips to her forehead. Soft, quiet, like a promise made in private. You're safe now, he said. Only she heard it. Only she needed to. As they walked back down the aisle together, Keoma saw her, near the back. A woman, sitting in a guest seat she had not been invited to fill. Dressed like she belonged there. Phone in hand, still recording. But not smiling anymore, because the story she had planned had not ended the way she expected. Keoma looked at her for exactly 1 second, then looked away. She had bigger things ahead of her. His name was Shin Young. She learned that in the car. A black car that was already waiting outside, engine running, like someone had known. She didn't ask how. Not yet. She sat in the back seat in her wedding dress, hands in her lap. Seoul moving past the windows. Han River in the distance, glittering, indifferent. She pressed one hand to her stomach. The baby moved. Small. Certain. Still here. She looked at the man beside her. Why? She asked. He looked out the window. Because no one should have to stand there alone. She waited for more. There was no more. Just that. And somehow, it was enough. The truth came out 11 days later. The video was fake, digitally constructed, sent anonymously from a number that traced back to a burner phone, purchased 3 weeks before the wedding, by a woman who had been seeing Trevor for 8 months, the same woman sitting in that back row, the same woman who laughed. She had built the video herself, sent it to Trevor 2 days before the wedding, and then showed up to watch it work. It had worked. Better than she planned. He hadn't just left. He had raised his hand. He had called the child a lie. He had destroyed something she spent 3 years building in 4 minutes, without asking a single question. And that hurt more than the slap. The slap was 1 second. The not asking, that was 3 years of truth he chose to throw away, without even checking. He came to the penthouse 3 weeks later, showed up at the door, suit pressed, flowers in his hand, eyes red, like he had been rehearsing this moment. I know what she did, he said quickly. I know it was fake. I know now. I was angry. I wasn't thinking. Keoma stood in the doorway, calm, composed, different. He noticed immediately. The woman at the altar would have already been crying by now, already reaching for him, already apologizing for things that were not her fault. This woman just looked at him, steady, like he was a stranger she was studying. You weren't thinking, she repeated softly. He stepped closer. Keoma, please. I love you. I'll fix this. I'll do whatever it takes. She tilted her head, just slightly. You slapped me. His face fell. You called my child illegitimate. I know. In front of 300 people. In front of cameras. In front of my mother. She let each sentence land before the next one came, giving him time to feel every single one. You didn't ask me one question, Trevor. Silence. Not one. You believed a video over 3 years. His jaw tightened. I was wrong. Yes. She said it quietly, without drama. You were. A pause. Then she stepped back. 1 step, creating distance that felt permanent. I'm not that woman anymore. His chest tightened. What do you mean? She looked at him. No love, no anger, nothing he could grab onto. The woman who ran after you at that altar? A small shake of her head. She's gone. Behind her, Shin Young stepped into the doorway. Silent. He didn't speak, didn't threaten. Just stood there. Present. Unhurried. Like a door that had already closed. Keoma didn't even look back at him. She didn't need to. She just looked at Trevor and said 1 word. Leave. Trevor looked at her. Then at the man in the doorway. Then back at her. Searching for something. Grief. Longing. A crack he could fit himself into. There was nothing. He left. And this time, she didn't watch him go. She turned back inside, back to the penthouse above Seoul, back to the life that was still being built, back to a man who had seen her at her lowest, and stepped forward instead of away. She sat by the floor-to-ceiling window, Seoul below, Han River catching the evening light. Her hand rested on her stomach. The baby moved. She didn't cry. She hadn't cried in days, not because the pain was gone, but because something had quietly replaced it, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Stillness. The woman who begged at that altar, was gone. In her place, someone quieter, stronger, someone who finally understood that the right person doesn't make you beg. They just show up and stay. So tell me, if you were in her place, would you have forgiven him? Or would you have become someone he could never reach again? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Subscribe to Afro-Korean Chronicles. We tell the stories that live between worlds. I'll see you in the next one.